I am so excited to be coming to you guys today to make just have a conversation, make an incredible announcement about our partnership today with the A21 campaign. As you know, we're releasing the brand new book, Following Jesus, today, or actually all this weekend, and today, all of the proceeds from the book are going to support and invest in and partner with the A21 campaign. You know, we reached out to Chris, Pastor Christine Kane, and I said I would love to partner with and talk about this book. And she said, "Listen, I need you. The only people in our entire organization I want you to interview is Josh and Kayla." That is 100% almost exactly true. So, anyways, honestly, she connected me with these guys, and they've been incredible. And so, this is Josh and Kayla, and right in LA. I'm down here in San Diego. I wish we could have driven together and made this thing more in person. But thank you for taking the time to be with us today.
Of course,
it's an honor.
We're so honored to be here.
Yeah.
We love chatting to you, and we're excited for the book, and we're excited for this partnership. So
Yeah.
Awesome.
No, I love kind of like what this partnership really embodies, because I think for us, it's all about people using what's in their hands to make a difference. And just that you've written this book for such a great purpose, and then you've chosen to give a day of it to A21 is huge. So we're really honored.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
It's a privilege, and I remember years back when the A21 campaign first began, and hearing Chris and Nick share the passion behind it, really in so many ways brought such a fresh global awareness to the tragedy of human trafficking in all of its forms. And so it's a privilege. It was when I thought of who could we invest in this launch week, who could we donate to, who could we partner with. Honestly, you guys were right there at the top of the list. So I'm so excited to be making this happen. So for those who maybe aren't really aware of what A21 does, why don't you guys talk a little bit about what it is and the efforts it's doing?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think A21 and the fight against human trafficking is really simple, and it's really complicated. I think at the bottom of it all, our goal as an organization is freedom. We believe that every single person in the world has the right to be free. And so we have this injustice called human trafficking that we are fighting against. And while there's a lot of different ways that happens, that is really our goal at the end of the day. I think that most people that work at this organization, well, I would actually say all people, had a moment when they heard about human trafficking. They heard about 27 million people being enslaved across the globe today, and their hearts were broken. And the response was, I have to do something. And they've ended up here. And I think that really most people that are involved with A21, whether it's, you or Nick and Chris, or people who give online, or people who walk for freedom every year, whoever it might be, like, they had a similar encounter where they were like, this is not okay, not on our watch. We're going to do something about it. And so I think that kind of embodies everything that we're about, and just finding freedom for humanity.
Yeah. And I guess when I think about it, I always come back to this quote from Winifred Newman, where she says that vision is the world's most desperate need. There are no hopeless situations, only people who tend to think hopelessly. I love that when so many people like yourself, when it comes to the fight against human trafficking, when they come across this issue, they see the statistics, and it might seem very overwhelming. Kayla mentioned 27 million, but 1 to 2% of victims ever rescued, 1 in 100,000 traffickers ever prosecuted. And you can actually look at those statistics and get overwhelmed and feel like, oh, maybe there's nothing that I can do. But I love this posture of hope that comes out, where it's basically like, you know what? It might seem daunting, but I know that we can actually change these statistics.
Yeah.
I know that one life at a time, we can actually eradicate this injustice for good.
Come on.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. And I think, honestly, hey, That's what I mean. You're talking about the book called Following Jesus. I mean, sounds to me like that's exactly it. Hey, it's going, hey, as a Christian, especially as a believer, I'm not going to just sit back and watch everything going on around me. I have to do something. I have to step up. I've got to love people. I've got to love them enough to fight for their freedom. I mean, Jesus, what did he say? One of the things he said, I've come to proclaim freedom. You know what I mean? And so I love that you guys are on the forefront of that, and so many around the world that are supporting and sponsoring and getting involved. So when those who are investing in and the funds or resources from the book today, what kinds of things is it going to as far as the fight here?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I love what you said. I love what you said about that scripture, because I think that freedom is not only something we can accomplish in our own strength, like it's actually a promise that we can stand on. Like freedom is a promise. And so that's kind of our strength in everything that we can do, and the word tells us to speak up for those who can't speak for themselves. And this is just one way of personifying that on this side of eternity. So it's a privilege. It's a privilege. But I think whenever it comes to what is happening with A21, where it goes when people choose to support the fight, we really have a few key areas. We see human trafficking as this ginormous animal that really requires you to come at it from different angles. So one of the things that we really focus on is prevention and awareness, because we feel like at the end of the day, we're more concerned about the thousands of stories we never have to hear than the people that we were able to rescue. So we really want to prevent people from ever becoming a victim in the first place by going into areas where people are very at risk or might be very vulnerable to human trafficking, and explaining this to them so that they don't fall for the tricks. I think another thing that really is huge for us is rescuing and restoring lives. So at this point, we are in 12 countries, which is crazy because it's been under 9 years since we started, and we are rescuing and restoring lives. So I think just a few weeks ago, we were able to rescue 3 children in Thailand, all between the ages of 11 and 14. And just last week, we were able to restore a girl who wanted to go back home to Bulgaria, a young lady who had been trafficked in an Eastern European country. So all over the world, really, like it looks different in every country. Human trafficking wears a different face, but we want to rescue and restore these lives. And then we also work with prosecution, so putting traffickers into prison. So I think over 45 men have gone to prison in the last few years. And really, we just see it as a holistic approach to the fight against human trafficking, because we want to hit it from every single angle. And of course, partnership. So whether that's a partnership with a person who wants to get involved, with government, with police, with other organizations, we think that A21 is not the solution to human trafficking. We, as a passionate community, are the solution to human trafficking. So we want to work together. So when people choose to get involved, that's the kind of stuff that their money is going towards.
Wow, incredible! And we'll say it a couple more times, but obviously, people can buy the book. All those resources are going to it, but also they can go straight to a21.org, right? Find out all about the fight, how to get involved, how to give, how to support, and just can't endorse that enough. This is something that we must continue to fight against, regardless of, like you said at the beginning, Josh, that daunting sense of this massive task. But every life is worth it. Every individual is worth it, and we keep fighting and we keep pushing. And any other maybe stories or I know there's not some of these things that you can't tell all the details of it, obviously, but just to share another story of somebody who's been rescued or whatnot.
Absolutely, yeah. I'll get Kayla to tell a story in a second, but I think it's good to frame it around this idea that we really love, and that's fighting for the one, and the importance of the one that you're touching on.
Yeah.
Because, numbers in themselves can seem kind of dehumanizing, desensitizing. You've got this figure of 27 million, which is more than the population of my country. But you think about that number, and it can feel kind of just a number, you know.
Right.
But when you bring it back down to the fact that every single one represents a human life, it changes everything. So yeah, Kayla, do you want to tell them one of the victory stories?
Yeah, I think it's important, like Josh said, to definitely see the hope in it all. I mean, one of the stats that we really say often is that every 30 seconds, someone becomes a victim of human trafficking somewhere in the world. And I think in that you can get lost, but there are so many people whose lives have been restored. There's one girl that I really, really just have drawn on her story because it's so incredible. Her name is Maria. So she was from an Eastern European country, and her mother had died, and she was trying to provide for her family because her father was incredibly sick, and they had just a lot of payments, a lot of hospital bills, and they were really economically, financially not in a good place. So like so many people in that part of the world who are experiencing poverty, they go looking elsewhere for work. And she found an ad online, which is actually one of the number one way that people become victims is by false online ads, especially in that part of the world. So she found this ad, she applied for this job, she got accepted, and she got on a plane and flew to Greece. And when she arrived, she thought that she was going to be a waitress. She thought she was going to make a lot of money and be able to send money home to her father to basically help him get healthy again. And when she got there, she was picked up from the airport by her trafficker and taken straight to a brothel. From that point, she went through something that's often referred to as the breaking down process, which basically is where they use really extreme, violent methods to break down someone's defenses so that they'll stop trying to fight back.
Wow.
From that point, she was forced to service up to 40 men a night for 2 years. And this girl was in her late teens at the time. So she actually jumped out of a building, landed on the ground, and I think she just decided, you know what, like, more than anything, I just want to get out, whatever it takes, however I have to do it. So she jumped out a window, landed on the ground, and someone saw her who actually spoke her native language, which was a miracle in itself. And she basically explained to them what was happening to her, and they were able to connect her with authorities who were able to connect her with A21, which is a very common way that people come into our care through partnerships with authorities. So she came into our care, and she quickly became kind of the shining star of our shelter. She baked and she created, she did all this stuff for our workers, the other girls in the shelter, and really, like, they started realizing this girl has a gift for baking. So one of the things that we do in the restoration process is we really focus on building people up so that they have the skills and whatever it is that they need to have an independent life so that they don't become vulnerable again. That's really important in the restoration process. And so she basically got qualified as a baker, and she went back to her home country about a year later, and A21 was able to help her start a bakery in her hometown. So that's been several years ago now, and now she is married, and she has a child, and she's running a business, and she's able to provide financially, economically, for herself, for her family, and now the generation that's going to come after her is not vulnerable because she's set up for a win. And I think that's really the goal in all of it. You know, when you start to see change that impacts the generations, that's when you know real change is happening. So her story is really incredible.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that, and what a beautiful story, you know, and the legacy difference now for this beautiful young lady who's now, you know, being able to set a new course for her family, for her life, and future generations. Wow, that's incredible. Thank you guys for that, and I'm excited. I'm excited to partner. Already, actually, right here, I was with our staff. You know, just on Wednesday, the day it launched, and someone came up and, you know, handed me $20. Said, I want a book, and I heard we're donating to A21. I said, absolutely, let's get it done. You know what I mean? Like, they saw that I made that announcement, and I know so many are excited, you know, to be a part of it and invest into it. So, all right.
Any news?
Yeah,
some exciting news.
Exciting news. Yeah, just real quick to share. As of today, we do have some breaking news. We do have, it's so exciting every time we have breaking news around the world, but it's also exciting when it happens right here in the United States. I think a lot of people, they think of human trafficking as something that happens over there, something that happens in developing countries, or surely it doesn't happen here, but it actually does happen everywhere, including the United States. But we're so excited to announce that we've just had a rescue and someone who's gone into our aftercare program in North Carolina, so the East Coast of America. Basically, it's a young girl who was trafficked for 2 years. Her trafficker was actually an older woman. She was trafficked for 2 years. She was exploited and forced to service men as an income. But she was able to escape. She was able to find authorities who were able to connect her with us. So that's another phenomenal story.
Wow,
and as you heard with Maria's story, we see that freedom and complete restoration is possible, and we're believing for that with this case as well.
Yeah.
Wow, way to go, you guys. Thank you so much for being there and leading the fight and for sharing that news. Wow, what an exciting moment actually to be able to capture that, breaking hot off the press kind of news as well. And like you said, another life, another individual on that journey of now being able to be restored and walking new freedom and new hope. So thank you guys again. And like I said, remember all proceeds today, followingjesusbook.com, all proceeds are going right to investing into the A21 campaign, and of course as well A21.org. So thank you, Josh and Kayla, for taking the time and sharing your hearts and sharing your story. And thank you guys for leading the way in loving people and being Jesus to a very hurting part of the world that we all wish wasn't a reality, but it is, and somebody's got to do something about it. And so thanks for rallying us together. Thank you for raising the awareness and providing actual solutions. I think sometimes that can be the thing that also feels discouraging. Well, we got awareness, but what do we do? You know what I mean? And so it's really, providing those solutions that you guys are to be able to actually help all of us come together and actually see great news stories coming out of freedom like the one we just shared. So thank you guys so much.
Absolutely. Thanks so much
for having us. We appreciate it.
Yeah.